Is on the test work page. So I guess we could start with that. Oh, did I not put it on here? There it is. So number 2 says make these in your own words. You can put not. I don't care if you put opposite, something, anything like that. So I mean, your own words on these. This one is or. I'm fine if you even want to use this as your reference sheet, like when not, like as soon as you get the test, you can write this stuff down and put this on there, so you only have to remember it for a second. So that's or, only false when they're both false. And I'm not looking for this. I'm only looking for like the or and the and basically. But this is just like your little cheat sheet, I guess. Again, you can't fill it out before you take the test, but you could write it down as soon as you get this paper. And this is an if-then. The rule is false when first is true and second false. So like that does help you do that real quick. So yeah, like I said, if you just remember that real quick and write it down right when you get on the test, that does help. This one. So this one, we're just using the symbolic, the symbols. Jane is practicing basketball is P. Q is Kevin is playing piano. So Jane is practicing basketball or Kevin is playing piano. Kevin is playing piano and is the V looking one. And Jane is practicing basketball. And then the squiggly line P is not, so Jane is not practicing basketball. Okay, don't miss the easy ones, right? That one, I mean, you do have to know the different symbols and different things like that. I don't let you all have a cheat sheet since we go over the exact test questions. But, like I said, if you can just remember it real quick and then write it down on your paper. Our next one's not till number 7. Okay. All right. Just another symbols one. It is not the case. So it is not the case. It's going to be a squiggly line that Maya is practicing volleyball, which is P, and Hans is dancing. So since that is in quotations, I'm going to do a parentheses that Maya is practicing basketball or volleyball and Hans is dancing. So it would be not, and then the and in those. And the quotation tells you to use parentheses. Maya is not practicing volleyball. Or Hans is dancing. So not P or Q. And then the last one here is not Q and not P. So not Q would be Hans is not dancing. And Maya is not practicing volleyball. A truth table. This is just your basic truth table where you don't have to do too much. So again, hopefully this helps you remember the rules as you take the test. The not Q would be the opposite of Q. So I'm doing the opposite of the second column. In the and Q, I use the first and the second column. It's only true if they're both true. So true and true, true and false, false and true, false and false. Okay. So that's just your truth table rules, a basic truth table right there. Only true if both true. Sorry, I was looking at my... These are not in order. My topics aren't in order. All right. So P, the tiger got fewer votes than the knight. Q, the lion got the highest number of votes. So write the following statement in using those symbols. The tiger got fewer votes than the knight. Okay. Or the lion got the highest number of votes. So it's just P or Q. Remember, the test is going to start easier, so you don't have to use a bunch of the different symbols. So based on the graph, is that true? Did the tiger get the fewer votes than the knight? That is false. Right? The tiger bar is higher than the knight's bar. The lion got the highest number of votes. That is also false. The lion got the lowest number of votes. So P or Q, the rule is it's only false when they're both false. Okay? So you have to use that chart to answer the questions or answer the statements. And work through that. But I think the part about this test that would be confusing to me if I was taking it would be, like, don't overthink the beginning ones. The beginning ones should be easier. Tiger got fewer votes than the knight. All right. And then the lion got the highest number. No, lowest. Okay. And then our rule is only false when both are false. I think that is out of order. I don't think that's this one. So let me try to make this in the same order for you. This is number 3. No, it was number 4. Well, it's topic number 3. All right, conditional. All right, here's a PQR. You got to do 3 of them. It is snowing is P. Christine is wearing gloves is Q. It is spring is R. It is not spring, so that is not R. Then Christine is wearing gloves and it is snowing. So I got 2 things over here. So I want to do a parentheses. Christine is wearing gloves and it is snowing. Okay, so you do the parentheses. There's a comma there to help you remind you to do the parentheses, but really you do the parentheses because there's 2 things after the then. The next one, it is snowing. If and only if Christine is not wearing gloves, or it is spring. Okay, and again, there is going to be parentheses because you got 2 things after the if and only if. The double arrow is the if and only if. I believe that's the answer to number 12 on your work page. But the double arrow is if and only if. So we make sure you use the parentheses there to denote when you got 2 things after the if then. So like 2 statements after then. So use parentheses. Man, these are all out of order. Because that's number... Oops. Let's see if I got my numbering right on my thing. Okay, so number 7 is on the test work page. Just to encourage you, I think I did these 2 truth tables to encourage you to make sure you use the steps. So this is, they have not changed the condition or the formatting yet, huh? If not P, then Q. So the first thing I want to do is not P. So I do the opposite of the P column. That's true, true, so false, false, and then true, true. So I do the opposite of the P column, and that's the only one I need. Now, it is not, the if, then, the order matters. You definitely don't have to write this. But I'm going to rewrite Q just so I don't mess anything up. It's a test, right? I'm going to rewrite Q because the rule for if then, when you see the arrow, is if the first is true and the second is false, then it is false. All the others are true. So just rewriting that Q column kind of helps you stay in order there. So first is true, second is false. That one right there is going to be false. That's the only scenario that happens on, so all the others should be true. Okay. So this is what you would put on your test worksheet. And again, that I did that mostly, not so you had to like do it twice, but mostly to encourage you to do it step by step so that you don't make those spots. I said that you don't have to use every column. Technically, I wouldn't like count off if you didn't do steps, but I do think it's helpful. I would say that was that one. What was that number? 7. Did I do? I think I'm off. I'm going to have to go rearrange these. I'll come back and do it later. Oh, so the test work page, if you need to just to write it out real quick, to have me write it out so you can see it, but I think y'all probably did it as I was doing it. Not P, then Q. So that was, oh, if you want to write the Q column, you can, I guess. So false, false, true, true, false. Oops, we're not changing that one. True, false, just rewriting Q. And then first is true, second is false is false. This one is also on the, what's it say, write the sentence out and label each part of the sentence that matches your answer in part A. Okay, okay. So P is you study for a test. Q, you get a passing score. So our sentence is, if you don't study for a test, then you don't get a passing score. So what I want you to do here is just write out, if you don't study for the test, then you don't get a passing score. I think that's what I said. So do something like this. Like this would be not P. This would be not Q. So my answer is not P, then not Q. So just kind of something like that to label what each part means and what you're doing there. Just make sure you get everything in there. That'll help you make sure you get your knots and different things in there. Again, it's a little easier for you when you have your paper next to your computer so you can see it all in one spot and I'll have to go back and forth like I'm doing different screens. So if you don't study for a test, then you won't get a passing score. So we already went over this part. Not P, then not Q. All right, and again, you got to pay attention to this statement right here. I wish they highlighted it somehow, but this is the only scenario we're looking at. So you studied for your biology test, so P is going to be true. When the scores for the test came back, you found out that you hadn't passed. So we did study, but we did not pass. Okay. So what happens in this scenario? Did the counselor lie to me? Well, we got to do our truth tables to figure it out. So let's do not P would be the opposite of P. Not Q would be the opposite of Q. So it is going to be true. It is only false when the first is true and the second is false. So the counselor did not lie to me because there's some weird logic here that you can probably think about that hurts my brain at 8 a.m. The counselor let's think about this for just a second. If the counselor only said that if you don't study, you won't pass. She didn't guarantee that if you did study, you would pass, if that makes sense. All right, what was, I think that's this one. All right, number 9, is that on our sheet? It is. Okay, so, oh man, this one, you might even need more columns. Not really. All right, we have Q right there, so we don't need that. Not Q would be the opposite of Q, false, true, false, true. And then not Q and P, not Q and P. Okay. Not Q and P, I'd be using the first column and the third column, and the rule for and is it's only true if they're both true. So that's false. That one's true. False, false would be false. False, true would be false. All right. So now I have the parentheses. What's in the parentheses there? If you want to do the Q, so now you're looking at the second and the fourth column for the if-then. This is one of the things that's nice about Alex. You can't really do it on paper, but if you want to go ahead and delete this column, then it makes it easier to look at. You got if Q, then not Q and P. So it's only false when the first is true and the second is false. So I'm looking at the second and the third column now. And then, oh wait, you got 2 of these, don't you? When the first is true and the second is false. That creates, so not always just one. It is possible to get more than one there. So if the first is true and the second is false, then the answer is false. That one is, sorry, just trying to get these all in the right spot here. Probably this one. Number 10 is what we did today. If Trey is an elected official, then Trey is the mayor of a major metropolitan city. The contrapositive flips it and puts the not in it. So it is going to be not the mayor of a metropolitan city and not an elected official. Flips it and puts the not in it. The converse just flips it. So is the mayor of a metropolitan city and is an elected official. The inverse, go back to the original and just put the not in there. So not an elected official, not the mayor of a metropolitan city. I won't highlight these all like I did just a minute ago, but what'd you say? Oh, that is the converse is you flip it. Actually, I'll write this on test work page. Because instead of I was fixing to write what all those meant again, just so you had it right there, but test work page down here. Oh, I didn't fill out that chart, did I? What was it? Not Q and P, and then Q, not Q and P. Man, so false, true, not Q and P.
False, true, false, false, false.
Oh, I was looking false, true, false.
False, true, false, true.
Okay, thank you. All right, so converse, you can write flip it or switch it or something like that. Flip it or switch it. For the inverse, I'm just looking for the word nots. You put your nots in it. Contrapositive, I'm fine really if you do just write both, but you flip it and put nots in it. And then since we're right here, let's go ahead and answer this other one in your own words, right? What that symbol means, if and only if. We don't do anything with that. That's called the biconditional, but you don't need that. So this test work page, like I said, if I was a student, I'd memorize all my rules real quick, and as soon as I handed this to you, I'd just write them all down and get all those answers real quick. All right, let's go. I'm scared. Number 11, I'm going to have to delete. Oh, no, this one's not bad. We can do this one. I was thinking it was a hard one that we just did a minute ago. All right. If a light bulb is red, then the light bulb costs $5. That is true. So the converse, we are going to flip it. If the light bulb costs $5, then it is red. That is going to be true because the only one that costs $5 is red. So that's kind of what you look for there is the doubles. Like if multiple ones cost $5, then it's going to be different. The inverse puts not in there. If the light bulb was not red, then it did not cost $5. That should be true. The converse and the inverse should be the same, so you really don't have to think about it once you figure out that they're all going to be the same. But if it's not red, you know it doesn't cost $5. The contrapositive, I flip it and put the not in there. Light bulb does not cost $5. Light bulb was not red. That is also true. If it didn't cost $5, then I know it's not red. All right. I don't know if I need to write anything on that one. I think that one's easy enough. That's that topic. And the last question here. Let's see if it has something to do with that biconditional one. No, I just threw that on there just to see if you had it, I guess. Okay, that's fine. It's easy enough. All right, on this one, kind of like that last one we did, you got 3 of them here. So you brush your teeth twice a day. So the dentist says if you don't brush your teeth twice a day and you don't floss every day, this part is going to be in parentheses because you got 2 things there. Then you will get a cavity this year. That would be R. So the dentist is saying if you don't brush and floss every day, then you will get a cavity. All right, so look at the scenario. You don't brush your teeth every day or twice a day, but you do floss every day. So we don't brush our teeth twice a day is going to be false, but we did floss every day, which is true. And we do not get a cavity, so that would be false. Okay, but now we got to do our different things here. So not P would be the opposite of P. Not Q would be the opposite of Q. So let's do not P and not Q. It's and, so it's only true if it's both true, so that's false. And now I'm going from that one to R. So I'm going to rewrite R right here just so I have it in order. So I'm using those last 2 columns right there. If then is only false if the first is true and the second is false. So this is true. The dentist did not lie to me. And again, we can think about that. That's harder to even think about with 3 of them. But if you don't brush your teeth twice a day and you don't floss every day, then you'll get a cavity. What he said is still true because he didn't factor in, I guess, if we do one or the other of those. But yeah, that is your test. Doesn't seem too bad.